How's it going, everybody? Roll on Gaming is back on the airwaves. My name is Kevin. I am joined, as always, by my brother and my co-host Corwin. Corwin, it's been a heck of a week for Star Wars Unlimited. How we doing?
Yeah, definitely a big week to talk about for sure. Gen Con super active and some pretty cool stuff coming down on the news front and obviously a lot of events too. So very, very active week for the game.
Yeah, we were not at Gen Con, so we can put that to rest. I did end up going to A Con for a day to get a thing. That was very exciting. And we'll sort of touch on that in a little bit, but really, I
Hmm.
mean, Shadows of the Galaxy is really kicked off in earnest with the play from out of Gen Con. We there were large events. I think every day that was there. Maybe not Sunday, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday at least there were large events. We've had some 1Ks that have taken place with the Shadows of the Galaxy cards and with that meta, and it's really starting to take shape. And we're really starting to see some of the decks come out. What surprised you about some of the combinations that we're seeing with these new cards?
Surprised me. I'm not sure I've been surprised by much so far.
Okay.
I think maybe the most surprising thing to date is the success of Han 1 from Spark.
Mhm.
In the mono variant. We've seen some 1K victories there with him. I think the first day of Gen Con, that deck went 7-0. So that's interesting because we all sort of saw Boba Yellow as the boogeyman coming out of set one, and now we have another mono yellow deck that's kind of taking up the reins. So that's a little interesting. What do you make of that deck, Kevin?
It's really a testament to the strength of what being able to ramp and play with resources can do. Because when you're able to
Hmm.
get things out sooner than your opponent, and really take advantage of that cost curve, you're going to have success. And then when you combine that with the tech and DJ combo that's going around, with an
Hmm.
ability to steal one of your opponent's resources and disrupt their game plan even further. Yeah, it's kind of scary. I haven't gotten a ton of reps against that deck because nobody's really playing it locally. But I've seen it in action and it can be pretty gross. So I'm definitely looking forward to testing out against it. I don't think I'm actually gonna play it ever, just because I'm a villainy guy and that's what I do. But I feel like if I'm gonna play mono, I'm gonna play mono Boba. And then we'll see what happens there. Mono yellow anyway. But yeah, Han is definitely making an impact. That first Han, and even honestly Han too. Young Han
Yeah.
has been seeing a lot of play in the blue variant, which is interesting. I know there was a lot of
Mhm.
talk pre Shadows of whether or not Han would be in green, maybe yellow, but blue seems to be coming up at the head of the pack here.
Yes, and I am definitely happy to see that because I think the red blue hero, I don't want to say shell because you can kind of build it different ways, but there are a few staples in there that are just really shining. Personally, I've been running the Ray red deck basically since launch and having a lot of fun with that. Han's trying to do something a little bit different by getting some of those bigger units out quicker, and I think that's an advantage that really shines in that deck. I haven't really gotten my hands on it yet myself, um, but super happy to see Han relevant because he's a cool leader, and I still think he's really good with green too because you know ambushing in units that we already know are good from the red and green hero factions, and then on top of that, being able to play some other strong units again around early seems good too. So curious to see where that deck goes. I think Sabine is sort of outshining him right now in the red green department. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, excited for Han in both variants to be making an impact here.
Why don't and you mentioned you've been playing Ray. Like, why do you think we're not seeing a ton of Ray in the top cuts right now? Like, what's going against Ray that might not be going against some other things?
That's a good question. I mean, I still think the deck is pretty good. I think it it sort of suffers from some of the same things that the other mid-range decks suffered from last set, which is, you know, effects that are able to bounce units and, because a lot of times, like with Ray, um, maybe early on you're trying to get a little wider, but eventually you want to get to your Kanans and your Poes and your Lukes and your Obi-Wans, and like the one unit a turn agenda just like doesn't really succeed sometimes. So I think there's some of that. I think there are other options in terms of discard, and Han Yellow is one of them that are sort of potentially proving to be just more effective than what Ray can do with Force Throw and Pillage and some of these other staples. So I still think there's a place for her. I think she's too good of a leader to ignore. But it seems right now like she's a little bit behind some of the decks that just play a little bit more unfairly.
Yeah, I want to talk about Pillage for a second. And I think this is a card that was largely, maybe not largely, was somewhat overlooked when it was revealed because it's a pretty costly event. 4 costs. You're not really doing anything to the board state by playing Pillage. But after running into Pillage multiple times now, that card is nasty. It's a scary, scary thing, especially mid game. Because mid game you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place where you need to be resourcing to get to your bigger stuff, like you mentioned. I mean, that's going to be true about any deck, really. And, you know, that you don't have the luxury unless you're a draw deck like a Palpatine or like another one of these decks that allows you to draw consistently. Um, you're not going to really be having an opportunity to maintain a large hand. And so in that round 3 to 5 range, Pillage can just blow you out. Especially if you're one turn away from dropping that thing that is gonna help you out, or if you're playing something like a Boba Fett and you've got a flip turn all planned out at 5 resources, and then your opponent drops a Pillage, and so much for your flip turn, right? Like that card, I'm starting to get a little concerned that maybe we should, maybe we don't need to see any more mill cards for a couple sets, because if we get a couple more, it's going to be a pretty scary archetype.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of ways to hit the hand right now, and I think that's shining through in some of the results that we've been seeing, especially this weekend. What I'll say about Pillage and what makes it difficult, it was one of my last cards into my current Rave deck, and that's just because it has a lot of competition at 4. For Hero Blue Red specifically, you're you're going between that and things like Kanan, K2SO, Takedown, The Forces with Me. There's a lot of great options that Hero Red Blue can play at 4, and so a lot of times I don't really want to see Pillage at that particular spot. It's better late game, I think, but as you mentioned, it does have the ability to severely impact your opponent's turn and kind of wreck their plans. And that's, if you time it right, it's the best thing you can do. So I think it's situationally very good, but it's not always like an auto slam on 4.
Well, you're the expert. I don't think you necessarily slam it on 4, but any like 4 through 6 is a range where if your opponent's still resourcing, their hand is definitely suspect. So I'm gonna be
You can
interested.
punish someone for trying to clear out their hand early if they're trying to go like super low to the ground and wide.
Mhm.
Um, you can definitely punish someone who's trying to do that, or is trying to be a little bit liberal with just the cards they're playing. But yeah, like I said, I think situationally it can be the best option. But yeah, it's been interesting to watch and play through some games where I have a choice between Pillage and something else, and it's just going to be different every time.
Yeah, just don't play Pillage against Kylo and you'll be fine. That's another leader that I don't know that we've seen a ton of so far in some of the top areas. I know there's been some
There's a
pop.
yellow deck, right?
Yeah, there's a
That
yellow
did
deck.
pretty well.
There's been some popular mono red builds that have been floating around with
Mm-hmm.
Kylo, but I think between the two of them, I think it's still Ray for me. I still think Ray's the stronger. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out ever, versus seeing more Kylo versus more Ray, seeing any sort of variants of Kylo and Rey units. I mean, I don't know how much of those are running around at this point, but those are ones that were sort of middle of the pack in the legendary tier lists, and I'll be interested to see where those go from there. Is there a leader that you're surprised hasn't gotten the amount of play in Shadows that you were sort of expecting?
Hmm. Um.
While you think about that, mine's Jabba the Hutt.
Okay. Fair.
Because again, I do think there we're seeing with these decks that are doing well, there's so much value in ramping, that a leader that allows you to play things early, really without a downside. You know, like Han, you have to lose a resource. The other Han, you have to deal damage to your unit, right? Jabba doesn't have a downside. The problem with Jabba is that he's just painfully slow, painfully. And I think I saw some of that going in, where okay, maybe this is one that you could just get swamped under if you're not careful by the lack of speed in this deck. Jabba is a slug, so he's not going to move fast anyway. But I did think that some of that was going to be mitigated by the fact that you could get Jabba's Rancor out early. You could get some of these other units out super early. Dropping a reputable hunter on turn one is, nothing to scoff at. But I haven't seen a ton of it, and it's interesting to me that that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your assessment. I think the slowness factor matters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and on the subject of bounties, like, I think Boss could be a candidate for this question too, just because it seems nuts to be able to claim a bounty twice, but I think in practice we've seen that it's not the easiest thing to pull off.
Sure.
Um, the green version I think has maybe made a splash here and there,
Yep.
but nothing like earth shattering. And along the same line of bounties, I would also point to the Mandalorian as being a leader that's, I think, to me, surprisingly underplayed, or if not underplayed, just like underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems pretty good to throw a cheap unit on somebody and get a free exhaust. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how that's not good.
Right.
Um, and so it's yeah, that's definitely something that is sticking out for me. But also, as others have said, and as I tend to agree with, like yellow hero is probably the worst combination still, even after two sets. Although, Han Yellow obviously would have something to say about
I was
that.
I
I
was,
just think
I was gonna say.
I just think like if you're trying to go outside of a mono build,
Mm-hmm.
Yellow probably drags you down a little bit if you're in hero. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure, but it's the cheap exhaust effects, Grogu being able to do it for free. It seems strong in theory, but it's just not really seeing any play.
Yeah. Well, they're if you want some more Mandalorian content, make sure to check out Ryback's Stun. He's doing an entire video series, sort of like we tried to do with the Thronicles, but his is better, where he's building a Mandalorian deck from scratch. So go check that out on Ryback's Stun's channel if you want some more Mandalorian content. I have to think he'll probably see some play at some point. But I I don't know. I do. I think of all the leaders we talked about, like Bosk has to be the one that is maybe the best positioned, because if nothing else, he deploys on 5 and has a good stat line. If all
Sure.
things being equal, right? And so, I think that he's one where you can pair him with pretty much any color. Maybe you don't want to pair him in mono because you want the diversity of bounties at your disposal, but we saw the green do well at Baltimore. I think there were a couple, maybe 3 in the top cut, and that's pretty much the extent of it to this point, if I remember correctly. So, um,
So yeah.
yeah. So I look forward to seeing what Boss can do. I look forward to seeing what really all these leaders can do. Um, but what I'm really looking forward to is when the set 2 meta is over. Um, because Gen Con brought with it an announcement of Twilight of the Republic, which we knew was coming. We didn't know when it was coming. We also didn't know what was coming. There was a lot of speculation about, well, this is when we see clones and Jedi and separatists and all that sort of thing. And for the most part, those speculations were correct. But Gen Con revealed some things that we really need to talk about, because I think at this point for me, Shadows of the Galaxy is a thing of the past. We're done.
Wow.
It's over. I'm gonna play something fun for the next couple months until such time as Twilight of the Republic drops, and then it's go time. That's really go time, and we'll explain
Okay,
that.
you gotta elaborate on. Yes, please explain because
We'll explain that as we get further along in the video. So let's talk about Twilight of the Republic, which releases on November 8th, 2024. And we did get the two-player starter leaders, and we're going to go through all the new cards that we saw for Twilight of the Republic, starting with Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka is a aggression heroism leader that has on her leader side has the coordinate ability. Now, coordinate is an ability, as we came to find out at Gen Con, that you get the use of the ability when you control 3 or more units. So that could, if it's an actual unit ground or space, it could include that unit if that unit has the ability. So Ahsoka has a coordinate ability. When you exhaust Ahsoka, you can attack with a unit. It gets +1/+0 for this attack, which is decently useful. But then when Ahsoka deploys, she deploys on 5 for a 3/6 Force Jedi Republic unit that has coordinate. This unit gets +2/+0. So conceivably, if you have 2 other units in the arena at any point with Ahsoka, the unit, Ahsoka's a 5/6 on 5. Kind of crazy. I really like the design of this. I don't know how effective coordinate's going to be in terms of how decks are going to go wide, but I really like this design. Corwin, what do you think of Ahsoka here?
I think it's a good design as well, and the upside of being a 5/6 for at the 5 deploy is definitely interesting. Um, I'm not sure about coordinate as a effect in general and how it's actually going to play out. It's pretty hard in practice with however many hundreds of games of Unlimited we've played to keep 3 units on the board in the same arena at once.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a tall order to trigger, but if it does go off, it's pretty powerful. And plus, I mean, who doesn't love Ahsoka? It's going to be great to see her in the starters, easily accessible. Interesting that she is aggression. I don't think that would have been my first choice, or first prediction rather,
Mm-hmm.
if I knew an Ahsoka card was coming. But it'll be nice to get some more Force support. Having I think just Mace in Hero before. Now we've got Ahsoka and another option that we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, and I think aggression actually suits more the Padawan version of this Ahsoka
Mm,
that is depicted, because that Ahsoka was a little more restless. I think, like, if you're talking about Clone Wars, like later on when Ahsoka got the 2 lightsabers and got a little more wise, I think there's a lot that could have been different there. But yeah, I mean, this probably only the second aggression force unit we've seen. Like, we're approaching a set that could potentially just have every single heroism leader be a force leader. I don't think it's going to
mhm.
pan out that way, right? But with the amount of Jedi that we could be getting, you could potentially see one in every aspect, maybe sometimes multiple. So, uh, interesting to see that Ahsoka was chosen over some other ones, especially when we will take a look at her opponent in the 2-player starter, which is General Grievous. Grievous is cunning and villainy, which I think fits Grievous. I think that makes sense, at least to me. Um, and Grievous
Agreed.
has an action where you can give a droid unit Sentinel for this phase. So kind of like Chewbacca, but not on play, so it's a little bit slower. Grievous deploys on 6 resources. You get a 4/8 Separatist official. Interesting that Grievous is an official. That has an on attack ability. You may give a droid unit +1/+0 and Sentinel for this phase. Now, that obviously definitely better than just giving the Sentinel. 8 health is great with the native 4 attack. So, already, despite having the same stats as Cad Bane on attack, you have it without having to, get the benefit of raid. This Grievous unit might be pretty nasty.
I like Grievous as a leader quite a bit, actually. As you said, the 8 health is really nice on the unit side. I think the on attack ability is really strong. Being able to essentially trigger 2 Sentinels in the same phase, the turn he deploys, super cool. Um, Chewbacca is not seeing a lot of play right now, the Chewbacca leader, but it is nice that on the leader side, the Grievous doesn't have the same, the same limitations in terms of only a certain costed unit can be a Sentinel, can be
Mm-hmm.
any droid.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it narrows deck building a bit, but I think just the ability to turn on presumably almost any unit in your deck, um, I like that a lot. So yeah, I think Grievous is looking pretty good here.
Yeah, and conceivably we're gonna get a ton of droids, right? Like for the
Of
same reason we're
course.
gonna get a ton of clones, or we're gonna get a ton of Jedi. We're gonna get a ton of droids. So I'm not super worried about it. There's other reasons why I'm not super worried about it that we'll talk about here in a bit. But yeah, I think droids and force units will be, well, maybe more so droids, will be akin to rebels and Imperials in Spark of Rebellion, where you can very easily make a deck with all of that trait, and you won't see too many limitations as a result. So that should be good. It'll be nice to see hopefully some more theme decks come out as a result of Twilight of the Republic, because they're really leaning in to, at least in this case, leaning into the archetypes. And I love me some Star Wars theme. So let's talk about some units. Right, these are some other starter specific units, some special rarity units. This is the 332nd Stalwart. It's a 1 cost heroism ground unit. You're getting a 1/2 Republic clone trooper that has the coordinate ability. We just talked about the coordinate ability. This unit gets +1/+1. So that's when you have 3 units on the board. This becomes a 2/3 for 1 cost, which on paper sounds great. But again, it just depends on how many units you can keep on your side of the board there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a great card on the surface. If obviously if you can get the coordinate effect to trigger, it feels a lot better. The fact that it only costs 1 can help it achieve coordinate, just again by going wider and kind of flooding. So I like it for that reason. But I think that's probably the only kind of deck it goes in, is one that's really trying to get some of those stronger coordinate effects.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, with the advent of coordinate that's coming in November, right? I have to believe that any coordinate deck is going to be a deck that features command, because Ewing reinforcement is going to be very important to any coordinate deck, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's definitely late in the game,
Mhm.
um, but being able to turn it on immediately after 1 play definitely feels good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that too. And green's got some good low cost options. So
Yep.
yeah, I could see that.
Get some Bail Organa in there, and just go to town. All right, so
My boy
here's
Alliance Dispatcher.
here's uh here's
Oh,
another
cool.
coordinate unit. This is Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Anakin is a 5 cost aggression heroism ground unit. For that 5 cost, you're getting a 6/6. You're getting a 6 cost. No, you're getting a 5 cost 6/6 as a special rarity unit in a starter deck. That's awesome. You're gonna get an instant 3 copies of this when you buy a 2-player starter. It's got Poe stats, which is crazy. It's got the Force tag, it's got the Jedi tag, it's got the Republic tag, and it has Coordinate, which is on attack, draw a card. Corwin, I understand you can't deal 8 damage with this like you can with Poe, but you got to be pretty excited about this Anakin Skywalker here. This card seems really good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 6/6 stat line is what you're playing it for. I mean, Poe is just straight up better in every respect. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. But I mean, even with my bias showing,
Hmm.
I feel like there's some objectivity there. But at the same time, like you said, Anakin's going to be much more accessible. The drawing a card is pretty nice and is also on brand with what Red is doing anyway. So I think, that all makes sense to me. And because he's at 5, you can play him, flip Ahsoka, then you know, you've got two units already on board. If you manage to keep a third one alive, there you go. You've got both coordinate effects for him and Ahsoka turned on. So in a starter game, I think that's going to feel really good. But we'll see if he finds his way into decks, into constructed decks. I'm going to be curious about that. The stat line is hard to ignore, but since we have Poe as an option already, we'll see. This feels like it's going to be limited use, but we'll see.
Well, so then my follow up question to that is: do you see Anakin as a budget option for Poe, or are there other 5 cost units in aggression heroism that you would consider instead?
I think it could be Anakin. I think it could be IG-11. I think it could be Clan Challengers. Those probably all like kind of fit the bill. But I think Anakin goes, probably he's a little narrower because you really want to trigger the coordinate if you can.
Hmm.
The card draw is like I said, I think it's really good if you can get it off. So I think you're trying to include him in a deck that's working towards that goal and is not just being played as a 6/6 body.
Sure, sure. Well, yeah. I mean, it remains to be seen. It'll be exciting to, drop Anakin and Ahsoka on the same, round potentially, and again, thematic gameplay. Gotta love it.
Yes.
All right, so
That will feel really fun in the starter games for sure.
let's continue with another coordinate unit. This is the Coruscant Guard. This is a 2 cost command ground unit, not heroism or villainy. You're getting a Republic clone trooper that is a 3/2 for 2. And its coordinate ability is that it has ambush. So if it is the third unit, or if you already have 3 units on board, you can ambush with a 2 cost 3/2, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. And I think a 3 power at 2 is always going to feel good. The 2 health, not as much. But yeah, I mean, being able to ambush this in, there's so few 2 cost options with ambush anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So to think that this could potentially have that, I think adds to its appeal. And yeah, I think it's a pretty decent option.
Yeah, 2 cost ambush, Cloud Rider, and what else?
Right.
Right.
So pretty interesting from that standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. So that could be, again, that could be an interesting one. It just happens to be in command, like I said. So that could be a potentially strong color for the coordinate ability.
Now, Kevin, you mentioned this before, but I just want to be clear as well. The coordinate effect, it has to all be in the same arena, or it's just across the board 3 units.
It says it just has to control 3 units.
So if you have, 1 ground, 1 space, and you play this Coruscant Guard, he can ambush because you have a total of 3 on the board, is what it's saying, right?
Sure looks that way. If we get that
Okay.
wrong, go ahead and roast us in the comments. That's fine. I will only be mildly offended, but mostly at my own horrific interpretation of the rules. But yeah, looks 3 units on board.
3 units on board.
Seems good. Let's get to some villainy cards now because they're the better ones. Separatist Commando is a 2 cost cunning villainy ground unit. You're getting a 2/3 Separatist droid trooper. And while you control another Separatist unit, this unit gets raid 2. So attacking for 4 on 2 costs, you're not going to convince me that that's bad ever.
You're not going to convince me either. I think this card's good, and if for I worry about it for the same reason that like Partisan Insurgent doesn't see any play right now because it's a little bit slow. But if you drop this guy round 1 and then follow it up by playing another Separatist, I mean that's a threat. That's a big time threat you've created for just a 2 cost card. So, even without the Ray 2, he's still a 2/3, which is average. The Ray 2 upside, I really like that a lot. So I think this guy's cool.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a staple, obviously in Grievous decks because it's a special rarity card in the Grievous starter. But realistically, any Separatist deck that features Cunning, you got to put this in. The power ceiling is there. Even if for some reason you can't find another Separatist unit, it's still a 2 cost 2/3. Um, and it's got Droid and Trooper in as well in case you have synergy with some of those. Again, Grievous can make it a Sentinel. Yeah, I there's nothing really that I don't like about this card, except the fact that it doesn't have 3 power, but that would be gross for 2 costs. So
Hmm. Hmm.
so we're not going to worry too much about that. And then we're going to talk about this Hellfire tank. So the Hellfire tank is not a starter exclusive. It's not a special rarity card. It is a common in the sets. You'll be pulling these in your booster packs, which is awesome because this is going to look great in hyperspace. This is
Sure
an
is.
this is an 8 cost villainy ground unit. 8 cost for a 7/6 separatist droid vehicle tank. But the Hailfire tank has exploit too. Now we've seen exploit on the convention exclusive Asajj Ventress unit, and now we know what it does. So exploit any number, so this in this case two, but exploit X essentially means that you can defeat up to that amount of units you control to reduce the cost of the card you're playing by 2 less for each unit. So in this case, exploit 2, if you defeat 2 of your own units, you can reduce the cost of the Hailfire tank by 4. So all of a sudden, for 4 resources and the cost of 2 units, you've got a 7/6 on board, which seems scary if it's your opponent, but also not great if you're trying to make a coordinate deck. So what do you find is the upside downside curve for exploit and how it applies in situations like with this Hailfire tank?
Well, I think in the situation of this card specifically, it's it's definitely overcosted at 8 resources. But I think you're not playing this card for that. You're playing this card to take advantage of its exploitability. Because if you can get it for 6, or even better, get it for 4, now it feels a lot better. Because you're essentially just paying for the body here. There's no other advantage to playing this card. So it does make me curious about how cards with exploit will be priced going forward, if they'll just naturally be more expensive because they have that potential built-in discount, or if we'll see some that are relatively well costed and then just become insane if you can exploit them in. Um, so I think Hailfire falls in the first category, but um, it definitely is a really good looking piece of art, and is going to look great in those varying treatments. And being a separatist droid unit probably has, again, narrow applications in some of those archetypes, but outside of that, probably doesn't see a lot of play.
Yeah, and the balance of sort of the cost to exploit, factor is going to be interesting because again, this is 8. You can play it for 4 potentially. The Asajj Ventress was 4 costed natively, so with exploit 2 you could play it for free. And then even if you don't play it for free, you're getting a 4 cost 2/4 that can attack with +3 to be a 5/4.
Mhm.
So depends on how you sort of view the benefits there. Obviously, a free potentially 5 attack is kind of nasty. But again, it depends on the units you're defeating and what they can do for you. Now, what is going to make defeating units less painful? When they are tokens.
Tokens.
Yes. So Twilight of the Republic has introduced token units, and there are going to be cards and effects that allow you to play token units on your side of the board, which is awesome. Corwin, I know you and I used to play Magic a little bit back in the day when we were nothing but young squires. There were plenty of tokens to go around in Magic the Gathering. They have made their way to Star Wars Unlimited. How do we feel about the fact that tokens are here?
I think it's great, and I think it makes for it opens up the creativity angles quite a bit with deck building and different things that you can do to sort of take advantage of these these little guys. And we have the battle droid on the screen right now. He's just a scrub 1/1 token unit. But I mean, shoot, if you can, defeat that guy to exploit something in, or if you can make him a sentinel with Grievous, like there are going to be applications. And so I'm super happy to see this in the game. I think it's going to be opening things up dramatically, or at least has the potential to. Um, and I'm excited to see what sorts of effects we can kind of create with these new tokens on the board.
Yeah. So, you mentioned the battle droid. He's a 1/1, listed as a 0 cost villainy token unit. We also got to see clone troopers, which are a 0 cost heroism token unit, but those are 2/2s. And they both have the relevant traits, right? So battle droids are separatist droid troopers, and clone troopers are republic clone troopers. So they're going to let you, trigger all the things that reference those traits. The art is great. The fact that they're full frame is really cool. They're not wasting. So that, obviously they're going to be blank texted, so they're not even bothering with that. They're just, here's a massive picture of a clone trooper and a battle droid. Have at it. It's gonna look really sick on board, especially if we can get these in hyperspace. So it remains to be seen the distribution on tokens there, but yeah, really excited to see what people do with token units. I'm excited to build around, with some of these, and see what other cards we have that reference them. But we did get some cards that talk about playing units as tokens. So let's take a look at the battle droid escort. Now again, we talked about cost with the hailfire tank. This is a 3 cost 1/1, right? It's a villainy unit. It's a separatist droid trooper. For that 3 cost 1/1, it does have a when played and when defeated effect, where you can create a battle droid token. So when you play this, you get a 1/1 and then another 1/1. And then when it's defeated, you get a third 1/1. So you're getting your 3/3 of stats. It's just very much spread out over the course of 2 units and then a third unit later. Yeah, if you want to farm some cheap sentinels or farm an exploit, this is the way to do it, right? You play this on 3, you have 2 units to sacrifice to play Ventress for free on 4.
Yep, exactly. I don't know. I wonder if we'll ever see villain cards get coordinate as well, or if it's going to be hero specific, exploit villain specific. We don't obviously know that yet, but obviously tokens can help trigger coordinate. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, you're still getting 3/3 worth of stats, but yeah, but the spread out effect, I think you're just gonna have to figure out a way to take advantage of that, and maybe exploit is the way to do it. Makes the card, like the main card, the battle droid escort here, less strong in my opinion, but again, that's you're not necessarily playing it for that. You're playing it for what can I combo off of the tokens I'm creating.
Yep. Yep. And I think I'd be surprised if we didn't see, villain coordinate and hero exploit. But I think time will tell. It
Mm-hmm.
would surprise me if it was sort of soft labeled as villainy and heroism um, only abilities. But we'll see. We got a lot of cards to go in the Twilight of the Republic pool, in a couple months to do it. So Battle Droid Escort will definitely be an interesting one. We also saw General's Guardian, which is a 4 cost ground unit that is command and villainy, special rarity as well. It's a 4 cost 4/4, and whenever this unit is attacked, you can create a battle droid token. So really combos well with General Grievous's ability to make it a sentinel. Um, you know, let it be attacked once, maybe more, and get those battle droid tokens out and just flood the board.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's yeah, 4 for 4 is very average, but being able to, again, have the upside of creating multiple battle droids off of this guy, that's pretty cool. That adds to his allure, I think. Most likely, it's just going to be one, but you never know.
Never know.
You start throwing some upgrades on this guy or whatnot, and maybe you get a few more out of the deal, which would obviously feel pretty sweet.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you want some clone trooper tokens, look no further than Captain Rex. Captain Rex, another special rarity card. It's a 6 cost command heroism ground unit. Captain Rex is a 4/4, so 6 for a 4/4 isn't ideal, but it's a Republic clone trooper, and when played, you create 2 clone trooper tokens. So you're getting 8/8 of value for 6 costs spread out amongst 3 units to immediately activate your coordinate abilities. Corwin, I really like Captain Rex. I don't know about you.
Yeah, he seems cool. And he's in the right color, I think, in command. Just kind of given his character. Um, I definitely hope we see him as a leader one day. But for now, we'll take this unit. And yeah, the clone troopers as 2/2s. I mean, not to be messed with. That's formidable. Being able to put 8 attack and health worth of bodies out there. So definitely do not hate Captain Rex. Glad to see him in the game. Hope to see him in more versions as well.
So there's a lot to be excited about, as you can see with Twilight of the Republic. You've got your heroism units, you've got your clones, you've got your villainy units, you've got your droids, you've got new abilities in coordinate and exploit. You've got the fact it's releasing in 3 months, but none of that compares to the excitement that I had to see some gamegenic products, and very specifically, there's a mat there, second from the top, that depicts my guy, not Darth Maul, I guess, not anymore, but it's Darth Maul. Let's come on, it's Maul, however you call him, it's Maul, it's Darth, whatever, it's Darth Maul. And not just that, we also are getting sleeves for Maul as well, uh, and
Hmm?
and deck boxes that feature Darth Maul in them. So November 2024 is going to be the winter of Maul, and that's just what it's going to be. Because I'm not going to play anything else. I'm going to load up my Maul deck with my Maul mat and my Maul sleeves that are probably going to be double sleeved, and we're just going to go to town. That's just what's going to happen because
I
the time
think
is
that's
here.
great. The time, yeah, I think that is fantastic, and that's what you should be doing with your favorite character. At least you've got him in the game now. At least until you get to this point with Twilight, you've got the Maul unit from Shadows of the
Yep.
Galaxy. You can mess with whatever villain green deck you want
Yep.
between now and then, and get your fix. But no, I was super excited for you to see this come out. And by the way, the other 3 options are not too shabby either.
No, not at all.
The Yoda looks incredible. I really love the speeder bike one. I think that one's probably my favorite. Just the green just pops so much on that mat.
Mm-hmm.
And then battle droids. Who doesn't love an army of battle droids in a
Yep.
so I think these mats are going to be highly sought after, and the game gen accessories across the board for these first 2 sets have been really, really outstanding, and I expect that to continue in set 3.
Yeah, and the speeder bike mat has the play zones on it, so that's going to be really cool. I'm definitely going to have to
Mm-hmm.
to grab a battle droid mat as well, but I'm sort of hoping that there was also Obi-Wan Kenobi art on the same deck box as the Maul box, and there's Obi-Wan sleeves, so
Oh,
very excited to see that. But I gotta say, I'm really concerned about what aspect they're gonna make the Maul leader, because like we've got the green unit from Shadows, but we also have the aggression unit from the convention
yes,
exclusives, right? And there it is in all its glory. So
beautiful.
we're gonna have to hope that Maul leader is aggression, so that I can play triple Maul and
Yes.
honestly just live the dream at that point. Just
Oh my gosh.
that's what we're doing.
I
We're
mean, it
living the
must
dream.
for someone that has historically had so much difficulty choosing what deck to play,
Oh
it
my
must
goodness.
be so liberating to know that, all right, I'm going to have my leader, I'm going to have my units, and I'm going to be locked into these colors because that's where my malls are. It's-
The only thing that could really mess up my vibe here, The only thing, and I hesitate to even speak this into existence, is if they also made another Darth Vader, because
Mm.
then I'd be in trouble.
Yeah,
Uh,
because then you'd have Vader red. Well, so Vader red and green. You have Maul red and green already revealed.
yep. And then there'd be another Vader leader that I would be also chasing a deck build with. But
Woo.
I think Maul is still the number one option. Um, Whatever that ends up being, that's what I'm playing. I know in our play group, Mike, shout out Mike, is gonna be rocking the Yoda mat wherever he goes.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully that's a leader as well. Um, but yeah, the battle droid mat is also, yeah, it's coming home with me too. It's so sick. So I'm excited for Twilight of the Republic. I'm excited to, mess around with some of these really cool, new mechanics. And, honestly, it's November can't get here soon enough. I've already requested pre-release weekend off. We gotta pull a showcase, Corwin. Like, the fact that we haven't done it yet is absolutely nutty.
Yes. The roll on channel is for however many
So many boxes.
packs or boxes or whatever.
So many boxes.
So yes, I mean this feels like the set to do it, especially with the mall coming.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully we'll see,
Hopefully.
but we got a ways to go before that, man. I mean we didn't even talk about planetary qualifiers. Like we're gonna have so many competitive events coming for this game in the next couple of months. A new season of store showdowns. Like there's gonna be a lot of people trying to figure out this set 2 meta. um, I guess I'll be more dialed into that than you, but uh, it's going to be fun to see how the game evolves, not just throughout set 2, but introducing some of the new things we're already seeing for set 3. Keep the train rolling. It's really exciting.
Yeah. I'm really excited to get more news about planetary qualifiers. I'll be going to one uh, near-ish by, not super
Lucky you.
locally, not super locally, and for reasons that I won't get into, but definitely going to be attending one. Yeah, so I might have to strap on the competitive hat for that one, and forget about Maul for like a weekend. But really, it's always an exciting time to be a Star Wars Unlimited fan. But right now, with the the convention stuff that all just happened, and new set release and new cards to play with as of a month ago, you really just can't go wrong. So make sure you're getting out there and playing, and testing and experimenting and having fun, because at the end of the day, Star Wars is awesome, and you get to play a card game with your favorite characters. Like, what's not to love?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing. You can find me firing up games whenever I can, and just restoring till my heart's content with Ray.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, find you pillaging my hand. Great, awesome, sick, love that.
Restore 3 leader, newsflash.
Yeah,
Pretty strong.
pretty good, pretty good. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Corwin, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today. Thanks to all of you who are listening. It's awesome to get a chance to talk about this game, as we always do. So if you like the content, be sure to let us know. Drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and comment down below what you're most excited about for the rest of the year in Star Wars Unlimited. Is it playing more with Shadows of the Galaxy? Is it Twilight of the Republic stuff? Like, what are you into? What do you like? Let us know in the comments below. We always love hearing from y'all about Star Wars Unlimited. So that's going to do it for us. For my brother Corwin, I'm Kevin, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.